Coming up on District Wire News, another suicide tragedy as the gay community celebrates National Coming Out Day. We've got a full report straight ahead.
And housing at Howard will show you how new policies at Howard University will change how you can visit the campus. District Wire News starts right now. Good evening, I'm Stevie Holliday.
And I'm Jack Weingart. The gay community is overlooking recent hardships to celebrate National Coming Out Day. Events are being held the day on the quad. Megan Sweeney has the story.
AU Queers and Allies is holding a coming out event on the quad. Students are able to walk through a doorway meant to symbolize the metaphorical closet that queer students must come out of.
After you do it the first time, you gotta do it over and over and over again. Every time you meet someone new or you go somewhere new or you get a new job, it's part of your identity and that never goes away. So we're just signifying this in a positive, happy way rather than a, oh my God, I have to come out way. So that's what this tour is about.
Coming out isn't always easy. Gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender teens are 4 times more likely to commit suicide than their heterosexual counterpart.
It's really important to just to always be visible about coming out. I think it's a hard struggle for a lot of people that feel uncomfortable coming out, and I think it's a really good sign visibly to always let people know that it's okay to be out, especially college students who are struggling like I struggled, who are struggling with their parents and being able to communicate about that.
Queers and Allies is starting a campaign to make AU a safer space for GLBT students.
Launching a This Is Why We Fight campaign in response to that and some other things. There have been LGBTQ students kicked out of fraternity parties. There were a few instances this semester and a couple last year.
Megan Sweeney, District Wire News.
A gay teenager in Oklahoma is dead after committing suicide. 19-year-old Zach Harrington killed himself a week after attending a city council debate to recognize LGBT History Month. During the debate, people opposing the recognition of LGBT History Month made statements that some have characterized as homophobic. Family members say that meeting may have pushed him over the edge.
New York Republican gubernatorial candidate Carl Palladino is promising to veto marriage equality legislation if he is elected governor in November's election. Palladino spoke out against gay marriage and homosexuality on Sunday at a meeting with Orthodox Jewish leaders in Brooklyn, blasting opponent Andrew Cuomo for marching in this year's gay parade and setting a poor example for kids. Palladino also had this to add.
I just think my children and your children will be much better off and much more successful getting married and raising a family. And I don't want them to be brainwashed into thinking that homosexuality is an equally valid or successful option. It isn't.
Palladino is standing by his remarks today, saying he is not homophobic and that he is owed an apology by some in the media.
Some gay advocates are arguing today that Palladino is not the only one showing signs of homophobia lately. A lesbian couple says that they were kicked out of yesterday's Browns-Ravens game at M&T Bank Stadium because they were kissing in public. According to a stadium spokesperson, however, the couple was kicked out for stealing a plastic cup from a concession counter. Today, the couple is considering a lawsuit.
When it comes to gay hate crimes, enough is enough, says a New York City task force. After 46 brutal attacks, the governor, police commissioner, and community members are speaking out. Susan Candiotti from CNN has the story.
After nearly 45 alleged hate crimes this year in New York, community leaders walked through the neighborhood where the latest stunning attack occurred, where 9 young men, ages 16 to 23, are suspected of sodomizing, assaulting, robbing, and imprisoning 2 victims.
I was sickened by the brutal nature of these crimes and saddened by the anti-gay bias that contributed to them.
He turned himself into a detective.
New York's police commissioner showed a photograph of a 9th suspect wanted for questioning after an 8th young man turned himself in Saturday. The day before, police described how a gang, the Latin King Goonies, allegedly brutalized a 17-year-old new member after they believed he had sex with a 30-year-old man.
He was thrown into a wall, made to strip naked, hit in the head with a beer can, cut with a box cutter, and sodomized with the wooden handle of a plunger.
Police say the suspects later forced the teenager to help them attack the 30-year-old. New York City Council Speaker, who is openly gay herself, praised the victims for telling police what happened.
Their bravery has helped Police Commissioner Kelly and his men and women get dangerous individuals off of our streets, and their bravery has literally saved lives.
New York's governor said the recent Rutgers gay student suicide, coupled with this attack, are appalling.
It just means that the tenor of hatred and bigotry seems to be rising right now, as it often does in the midst of a recession and an economic downturn, and people's angers are fomenting themselves in the wrong direction. They're being fomented at other people.
As community leaders handed out tip sheets asking for the public's help to solve this alleged crime, one speaker put it this way: it is time to call for prevention, to look for purpose behind our pain. Susan Candiotti, CNN, New York.
North Carolina officials are looking for a 10-year-old girl. Zahara Baker was last seen Saturday morning about an hour outside of Charlotte in Hickory. Police now believe that someone close to the girl took her. Zahara was a prosthetic leg and a hearing aid that was left behind. In a separate matter, police have now arrested Elisa Baker, Zahara's stepmother. Elisa is charged in over a dozen crimes, from check fraud to driving on a revoked license.
Flunking out will cost you more than just a college education. Taxpayers are now seeing the burden of failing grades. Amanda Zimmer reports.
Dropping out of college is not only a burden of debt and lost time for students, but a burden that taxpayers have to face as well. And that cost is in the billions. A report by the American Institute of Research says state governments have spent close to $6.2 billion between 2003 and 2008 to help pay for education for students who did not return for their second year. The federal government has spent an additional $1.5 billion, according to a survey that came out earlier this year.
I think the government should be putting more money into students that actually stay for all 4 years, rather than giving money to students who drop out after their sophomore year. And this money isn't even being redistributed back into the system to allow students who actually need the money, or students who actually deserve the money, to actually get that money and to help them fund their education so that they can stay.
Students are finding that these findings are unfair, that the local and federal government are spending money on students who are dropping out and not on students who are currently in school.
Don't need that extra money, which could go to another student that needs to come to school.
The cost of educating students who drop out after 1 year is 2 to 8% higher than the state's total education.
I'm looking to stay in college for all 4 years because I just feel like it's very beneficial to finish your college career. It'll help you out in the job market after college, and it's just a really valuable experience.
The report does not include part-time, transfer, or students who come back later and graduate. Amanda Zimmer, District Wire News.
More than 10 females were the victim of spiked drinks at a college house party. Police say women were the target at the Washington State house party. More than 50 Central Washington University students were in attendance. Officials say 11 females were taken to local hospitals for treatment, and one still remains hospitalized. And the incident is still under investigation.
Crashing at a friend's dorm room is nothing new to people at AU, but to students at Howard University, it's a new privilege. Esther Song has the story.
Most college students don't think twice about having someone stay overnight in their dorm room. But at Howard University, it's a brand new idea. The school is currently experimenting with a new policy that lets people stay overnight, and some think that it's about time.
The 24-hour policy, or the guest policy, probably came a little late in the game for them. That, you know, college students are college students, and so they've probably had overnight guests, and they figured out a way around the policy.
But at AU, students have had people stay over for as long as they can remember.
Hi, Clymer.
From what I understand, AU guest policy is that students can have guests over for a 3-night stay as long as they're escorted by somebody in the building, or somebody who lives in the building is with them at all times. And that's as far as I understand it. And that person has to be a resident of the building. So.
At Howard, upperclassmen in one dorm are allowed to have one other student stay overnight. But the sleepovers come with lots of conditions. On the rest of campus, visitors leave at midnight on school nights and 2 a.m. on weekends.
It might work for them there. I think it's a little outdated.
It would definitely not work here as an RA. I know that I have no idea how we would be able to enforce a policy like that. It's very possible that they didn't enforce it, but it was just a rule that was on the book, something that they didn't really enforce, but just a kind of a ghost policy that kids were supposed to abide by.
Luckily for AU students, it's not something they have to worry about. Esther Song, District Wire News.
Coming up on District Wire News, AU Central. It's new, it's the purpose to make life easier, but students don't think it's working too well. Let's take a look after the break.
And President Obama promises new change just in time for the midterm elections. Stay with us.